Judges, this is Chris from the Epistack team here, excited to show you our submission. So what we have here is a platform for AI agents and humans to collaborate, ultimately with the goal to more efficiently vend and consume knowledge. So for more detailed submission, please take a look at our spec. But this video will primarily serve as a way to just highlight some of the features that we're excited to show y'all. And, we really think that, this might be what the future of the space looks like. So yeah, let's get into it. We dive into it, if you want to take a look at this yourself, we'll go ahead and point you towards some public repository with everything you need to get started. There'll be a README for how to get yourself up and running, some commands here, also how to enable the MCP server. Yeah, if there are any questions, please let us know. Pointing your Claude code or any like local AI model to help you set this up is also extremely viable. I just did that recently on my Mac Mini, just as like a test to make sure it will work on your machine. One caveat, we do ask that you bring your own API keys. That's why we'll try to have a more exhaustive video showcase. So hopefully you got your server up and running now. You can go ahead and just navigate to the front end. You'll be greeted with a sign-in page. Don't worry about this. You can just really type in whatever you want here. And I'm going to type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the password, create an account, and we're in. So here's where you're greeted. You won't have any investigations because you won't have run anything. We do provide our seed. So here's our 3 submissions to the aforementioned topics. So go ahead and press load and you can load these in to your investigations. So with that out of the way, we're ready to dive into the platform. So the first feature I want to highlight is the commons. This is sort of like a growing knowledge base across your organization. This is all the hypotheses, the cruxes, the claims, the sources that you've turned up across your investigation. So you can see here we have different clusters. This is the stretching sort of relationship being modeled here, COVID-19 over here. This is the CERN investigation. And of course, we can expand to get more detail across these graphs. And you're also welcome to go ahead and search across all these different topics. Okay, let's move on to investigations. So when you kick off a new investigation, you can go ahead and ask a question here. You have the ability to seed from the commons. Just do you want to build on the knowledge that is you or your team has currently built up? So for example, in this investigation, we can go in and we can see that I pressed yes, I do want to seed. However, there was nothing that was in the current commons for this question. We only found COVID material, wasn't relevant to the investigation. So the agent went ahead and scoped out sort of where to go. So this is like our first improvement on the state of the art. This is like the deep research harness that we have created to sort of scope out these topics, create these avenues of exploration, dig into them. You can see here we have these, rich text elements so that humans can go in and really understand what the model is doing, what decisions it's making. You come in, it records the hypotheses, retrieves the text. We'll try to extract claims. We'll ensure that we are getting the claim verbatim from the stored text. Failing a lot here. This is, will be cleaned up based on like the skills as we refine them. But you can see this is like a breakdown of everything that it's compiling, and it eventually comes up with, a good overview for a human to ingest, what's still missing, and it practically synthesizes it here. So this is like its best answer, but obviously the meat and potatoes is, of course, in this graph that, now humans can sort of dig into here. So they can take a look, we can toggle different views, the assessment, we can see like what hypotheses the model came up with, um, the claims that support it, the claims that counter it, sort of the breakdown here. Yeah, so this brings us to encouraging users to explore and play around with this output. Yeah, so all of these are fully interactive. These sources you can go see, exactly where this was pulled from. You can see the provenance data, making sure everything is auditable. You can dispute certain pieces of evidence. You can interact with the graph itself. You can see this claim, the sources that back it up, how it was extracted, etc. Another thing you could do is like a different overview, trying to highlight different information for users. We can also like replay the entire session, sort of see the knowledge get built in real time, over this investigation. Let's quickly move into our multiplayer features. So we have like live presence across investigations. We have like comment threads, so I can comment here and say hello. And then I can come on my other computer and say hi. See that is responded there. We also have, live chat, hello, and then hi there. And you can have this like physical presence on the graph as well. So this is really cool. Um, 1 second. Yeah, so you can see I'm here, and I'm also going to ask AI to join me here. So I can say, hey, Eve, walk me through these. And, you know, that's gonna kick off an investigation to Eve. Eve is gonna spin up in a second. You can see it's the AI agent currently running a tour, and so this AI agent has like spatial awareness of the graph, can jump around here, and also like follow it. So this is broadcast across all viewers in the room. We can bounce around here. We can do here is we can open up this investigations tab and say, maybe something like Eve explore more into hypothesis that COVID is definitively resolved available evidence. And we can use like Eve here to further build out this graph directly from this investigations tab. And of course, you can drive investigation through these research questions. Get into one of our more novel use cases here that we think is a new perspective that should be genuinely thought about, is sort of like Git for knowledge graphs. So for any chat, I'm gonna go all the way up here. Let's say I wanted to take like this question in a different direction. I can go ahead and I can fork that. So from here, I'll go ahead and I'll say that let's focus on like personal fit here. I went ahead and I proposed a merge request. So we can go to the parent branch. We can go ahead and see that there is a merge available, and it's adding 17 different nodes here. So we can go ahead, let's full screen this, go ahead and see that, what the graph sort of looks like here. We add a hypothesis, we add, we have found a new crux for this claim. Here's sort of how our knowledge changes with this merge, and we can go ahead and we can accept. Let's say your team is not pretty happy with, how the graph is looking, and they're ready to ship it. So you can come up to our release section. Go ahead, I've already released this. You just add a label, any notes you want, press cut, and it will take you to, this release page where this is public, also available by MCP, so the agents can load this in and get all of this handy. So this is like public releases page to browse there. All right, so now let's move into one of the arguably coolest feature of this project is that the agentic access. So here is an example setup, very straightforward. Help me set up the MCP. You're able to ask, follow-up questions about it. This is just a token. I'm okay to expose it, you come into the app and you mint it there. But yeah, let's get into the questions. So I can say, with the stretching release, I can say, can you use the epistemic CP? So it's able to access the structure that we've created and released to the public. So this is fully transportable. This is, any coding agent, hook up the MCP. This is like chatgpt.com. We're meeting users wherever they're at. Yeah, you can totally follow up with this. What? Hello, Claude. So what you see here is Claude is able to act just as any human collaborator would. This is that first um, first party support for AI agents. So Claude is able to interact with every single element here. You can see Claude is able to mess with graphs on the node. If we scroll up the graph, you can say that Claude is also able to drive investigation. So there's sort of two avenues there that we want to stress. So Claude is able to act as a collaborator and researcher alongside with us, but we also expose these primitives if Claude wants to directly manipulate the graph, or anyone just like has an agent they want to drop in and has a different workflow, we want to also be flexible and able to support them as well. Yeah, so that's like our first party support for AI agents.